We are in some seriously dangerous and troubling times right now from a standpoint of national security. And I mean that sincerely, and I can show you why I think that, and it is absolutely not clickbait. So please do view this video with an open mind. Please do like the video and share it with somebody so that it reaches a wider audience. I think more people need to see this. Now, first of all, I'm going to start out by referring to the sacking of Lord Mandelson as ambassador to the United States after the leaked emails suggest that he still had links to Jeffrey Epstein, and those were not, on the face of it, properly vetted, and therefore he was sacked from that position. Now, the reason for my stark warning in this video is the following. I've mentioned before that our security services are fantastic. They are absolutely on the nail, on the ball with everything they do, and they provide warnings where necessary. And I always say that our government should take heed of those warnings. But this is a shocking revelation. So this is from Sky News, who understands from two sources, which doubtless they have verified, that the security services flagged concerns as part of the overall process for the appointment of Lord Mandelson. But number 10 went ahead anyway. Downing Street has defended this position, saying that they followed an extensive vetting process which all senior civil servants go through, which I happen to know a full process like that costs upwards of £50,000, and this raised questions as to whether or not they missed something in that vetting process, or whether number 10 ignored this advice altogether. Sky News says it's not known whether all the detail was shared with Keir Starmer personally, but either way, Sky News was told by two sources that the security services flagged these concerns, that some members of the security services are reportedly unhappy with what's taken place in Downing Street, and ostensibly number 10 did not judge any of these concerns as enough to stop this ambassadorial appointment. Bearing in mind, he was to be the ambassador, the formal representative between the UK and the liaison with the United States. Now, the spokesperson for Keir Starmer has obviously and timely jumped in to say that number 10 was not involved in the security vetting process. Now, I wouldn't really expect it to be, but if there have been concerns raised, I would absolutely expect that they do take those concerns seriously, which is really the crux of this video for reasons I'll come to in a minute. They say that this is managed at a departmental level by the agency responsible, and the suggestion that number 10 was involved is untrue. But asked repeatedly if any concerns were flagged to number 10 by these agencies that conduct the vetting of Lord Mandelson, he did not dismiss the assertion, repeating that number 10 did not conduct the vetting. So this doesn't flat out answer the question whether there were concerns raised and whether they just dismissed those concerns and appointed him anyway. Now, all of that aside, because he's now been sacked and he will not be the ambassador to the United States, and so any of these links and these leaked emails and everything else, whatever the truth of that matter might be as it might transpire, will not affect that position now in relation to the United States. But why is this, therefore, still a big concern? Well, because these concerns and flags and warnings are repeatedly brought to the attention of these authorities. I presume for the most part, and I read reports and news reports, etc., to confirm as much, that this is very much the case. You would expect so. You would expect our security services to warn those in charge of any such concerns. Now, with that in mind, let's go back to February 2024. To this article here. And this is not just to say that this only goes back to 2024. This is just one example. This here from the Telegraph reads as follows. British security services are monitoring numerous Channel migrants as suspected extremists threatening serious harm in the UK. Robert Jenrick said that there was a well-evidenced connection between those arriving illegally and serious criminality. He urged then Rishi Sunak to take a more urgent and robust action to tackle illegal immigration. Comparing the situation then to that in the US with thousands of Channel migrants crossing in small boats, he said that this border security is national security. He said, "We simply cannot escape the organized criminality which is inextricably linked to illegal migration that endangers the safety of our citizens and society. Many mean us no harm, but a significant minority have criminal pasts or are intent on criminal futures." He said there's already a well-evidenced connection between those arriving illegally and serious criminality, particularly the drug trade. There are also numerous individuals being monitored by the security services for fear they're extremists who mean to do us serious harm. As immigration minister at the time, the bleak reality of this crossed my desk every day. Once you accept this fact, he said, it compels governments to take the most robust action possible. And there is much more evidence to be concerned about all this, which I'll come back to in just a moment. And as you've probably gathered from recent news stories, people are increasingly worried about their personal data and information that they've left on websites all over the place in case it comes back to bite them and gets them into trouble, particularly with the strengthening of laws in the UK and what we see as the curtailment of free speech. So if you'd like to get rid of this information and make yourself disappear and delete yourself from the internet, after all, if they can't find you, they can't harm you, then I would recommend a service to you called Incogni, who partners my channel here to provide you this service. You get access to a dashboard and they contact all of these companies, including companies that you specifically target and request remove your data, and they will use UK and US law to require that they remove your data from their systems, helping you to delete and erase yourself from the internet. And of course, as they're a partner to my channel here, if you use the code BlackBelt, you will get 60% off the annual plan when you sign up. So check out the link on screen and in the description. Don't forget the code BlackBelt for your 60% off and of course a 30-day money-back guarantee if you change your mind. So do check out Incogni if you'd like to start erasing your information from the internet. So back to the security concerns which have been raised by various organizations, including the security services, the National Crime Agency. This one reading here, the threat from organized immigration crime. It quite clearly shows that entering the UK illegally prevents law enforcement from conducting criminal record and security checks, meaning we don't know who they are, what risk they pose to the UK. The nature of people smuggling reflects political and legal developments and humanitarian crises in other countries, making this an ever-challenging threat. And just before I go on with these references, bearing in mind what I said at the beginning of the video, where it's reported now that the security services raised concerns about the appointment of the US ambassador, and that it appears that they went ahead and appointed him anyway, and that is just one person who was in a senior position in government. Now, let's take account of the sheer number of people coming across the channel about whom we know nothing. But what we do know is somewhat terrifying, because if you remember, Robert Jenrick would have had access to much security information when he was a senior minister in the Home Office. He said that his time in charge of the immigration policy made him realize that the state was not doing everything that they could to do to protect the people. He said alongside dozens of terror suspects, he claimed that almost 1,000 migrants who arrived in small boats in 2022 and 23 were linked to criminality. He said they all go on watch lists of varying levels, but how can we expect the police officers and security services already dealing with threats from home to take on dozens or hundreds more cases? He said it's an impossible task, and while they do a fantastic job, it's inevitable that some slip through the net. Now, again, there's been over 30,000 illegal arrivals this year alone, added onto all of the others, and this is not counting any of the refugee family reunion arrangements, whereby they must also carry out checks against those who are coming to the UK as a member of the family of a refugee, and again, those checks need to be thorough and they need to be accurate. But if anyone wants to check the current threat levels, you could always do so on the MI5 website. They are quite transparent about what the current threat level is. There are various levels, and it starts to get very serious at substantial, which is where we are at now. Their substantial level of threat means that an attack is likely. And the latest statement on this immigration and small boat crossings from the Home Office and incoming Shabana Mahmood, she says that these small boat crossings are utterly unacceptable and the vile people smugglers behind them are wreaking havoc on our borders. She said, thanks to the deal with France, people crossing in small boats can now be detained and removed to France, and I expect the first returns to take place imminently. But we have yet to hear exactly how many and what the arrangements are going to be. They do keep putting out the figure of 35,000 people with no right to be here have been removed, although as statistics show, the vast majority of them leave voluntarily when their visas expire, many of whom leave with no prompting whatsoever. Many more will leave having been prompted that their visas have been expired, and some more, I suggest, are threatened with removal and therefore just leave. The rest of them, some 6,000 to 8,000 or whatever the current figures are then forcibly removed. And also as a teaser for an upcoming video, which I was going to do here, but I'll do it in a separate video so as not to blur these two videos together, the incoming president-elect of Oxford Union has made a despicable and disgusting post about the assassination of Charlie Kirk. He posts, as you can see it, on screen here. I'll talk more about that and the fallout of that in another video, so please do subscribe for that imminently. Please do like this video and share it with a wider audience for me. And as always, thank you for watching.